Welcome everyone to another edition of JMC Live. We are live at Saturday at 9 p.m. on March 3rd, 2012.
So, this has been a very eventful day.
Was that pretty good for me introducing the show for the first time?
That's the first time Miranda's ever introduced the show. I know you can only see her arm right now because I have a lot of, she's going to bop me in the head again.
I can scoot over a little bit.
There we go. We get her in the frame here a little bit.
I have to kind of...
The reason why I'm wanting to have her on the show is I've done a lot of talking this week.
Today, especially.
Today. And
I think you talked for almost 4 hours.
I talked for too many. I talked for several hours this wonderful day. And one of the things that I wanted to...
Oh, Lord, what?
That thing was really big. One of the things I wanted to cover and talk about was the Delivering Hope rally for today that I spoke at, but I need to back and rewind earlier this week to the impromptu stuff that has occurred, which what I'm talking about was the Hunger Summit. And if you're kind of wondering what was a Hunger Summit, what does that mean, Jeremy, you're pretty portly. I don't think you're going hungry. I said, you're exactly correct. I'm not hungry. But what about the rest of our community? What about the rest of those in society? And you have to realize that hunger in America is an epidemic, and I know that sounds like some kind of zombie-themed word that is used, and for those that like zombie films, I'm saying that because I know some friends that are coming to the show tonight that think zombies are kind of funny. And speaking of zombies, and I know I'm being on a tangent for the moment, we have done a show one Halloween where I talked about how Christ wants you to be a zombie for the heart of the souls of people. I'll have to share that link at another time. But back to what I'm talking about, the Hunger Summit. This was sponsored by United Way. I don't know how much do you know about United Way. Can you share what you know about United Way?
United Way is a nonprofit organization that, what I've experienced, works with many other nonprofit organizations to help people in the community. Is that pretty well? I mean, they work with other nonprofit organizations to help people in need.
Yes, that's completely correct.
Get them clothing, food, shelter, etc.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that they do, and they're kind of like a ministry in a way. So they help do funding and grants and so on and so forth. The other thing is the MidOhio food bank that was there. For those of you who are kind of interested, if you have a soup kitchen, if you have a shelter, if you're feeding the homeless and you're gathering food items, perishable items, or you're wanting to try and cook stuff. Now, we've covered stories where people were just trying to feed the homeless and got in trouble because they didn't have, rules and regulations. I'm totally for still doing that.
Yeah.
But also on the other side of the coin, if you're trying to raise money and you're trying to reach more people and you're telling me that you don't have enough food, but you have money and you're a nonprofit, you can go to your food bank organization like MidOhio and you can buy in bulk. I'm also totally for just you and me and others that go around the community and just hand food to people. I know certain people don't like that, but when there's a guy on the street that's hungry, I don't have time to wait and go get a license and tell him to go over here and do this because the guy's hungry right now. So I know there's one or two places. So what happened is they took the community action, they took Job Family Services, they brought in the mental health, Salvation Army. They brought in several churches, Love Inc., other organizations, and your very own JMC Ministries was there. Well, this is connected to the Continuum of Care meetings that I've been doing. You're kind of wondering what that's about, and I'll explain that a little bit later.
What was weird is you thought you were just going to a dinner and kind of just going to be sitting there, and something really amazing happened.
Yeah, so Continuum of Care is another organization that brought forth through our interactions with One Night Without a Home with Ross County Community Action. And we talked about Jeremy Reynolds, largest homeless shelter in New Mexico, and we gave out his books, and I spoke, and I've handed out my speech, and so on and so forth. They were really interested in our expertise and my personal experience, so I was invited to this board of directors kind of like meeting style. And it's like once a month, across the board, churches, organizations, people that do outreach to the community, that want to make a difference in our community. And this is apparently in other communities as well. Meet once a month, and then other meetings meet through, so on and so forth. Well, that opened the door for more opportunities to connect with other nonprofits, other ministries, and that's one of the big things that we at JMC Ministries have been doing. This is how we've been able to do so much with so little. It's a Coast Guard motto. We will do more with less.
We do. And we do.
Because we find ways to do things either more efficiently at a cheaper price, or find someone that can do something that we can't, that's already doing it. So we're kind of like a ministry cheerleader, so to speak, in some ways. But anyway, I was told to come to this event from one of our other ministry partners. Said, well, the Hunger Summit's going to be next week, and you should go and cover it. Well, sitting at my table was the MidOhio Food Bank, one of our local representatives. Across me was the Chillicothe Gazette. Sitting at the next table was Love Inc., Salvation Army, and then other churches and people that I wasn't aware of. And the interesting thing is other organizations that were there weren't even aware who the other organizations were.
Yeah.
One of the big things that's in LA County, California, is the 211 network. I'm actually having a meeting next week with them to discuss how to set up and revitalize the current database system for 6 counties here in Ohio. What we're wanting to do is get all government agencies, all nonprofit ministries, all people that are involved with volunteerism, from mental health services, 411, 911 situations, medical care, homelessness, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, you name it. We're going to have a database. Guess what? We already have one, but the site needs a little work. So here's the other thing that we're going to be trying to do.
And this meeting is going to be with someone that actually works at the Paint Valley Mental Health Center.
Yeah.
To help them, because they're the ones that have the database that's not up to date. And the lady told you. I'm just saying because you forgot to say this. She says, she told Jeremy, she says, I wish I knew how to do what you do, but if you can come in and help me, we can work together and get this done. So I mean, it's completely volunteering to help do this.
That's one of the big things that we'll be doing here shortly. So I wanted to just briefly cover this with you guys, because I know you needed to know what we're doing. The whole show tonight is going to be towards the end and throughout the whole event about serving the community, and it will be covering the Delivering Hope rally. What I wanted to share with you guys briefly was the upcoming events, like I was telling you about 211 and so on and so forth. So going back to this event, right, the Hunger Summit, well, all the tables were given an opportunity to have food, and then it just went forward with what people were just doing in the community as a whole, and all organizations were given an opportunity to speak. Well, one of the things that we were already talking about within our inner circles at the Continuum Care meetings and other meetings at churches and so on and so forth, one of the things that we talked about is the need to get people interconnected, the need to assist those that are having issues, that are going through problems. So this was the great opportunity, because here we are right here in Ohio, all these churches, all these different organizations didn't even know who existed and what they offered. So the next thing they did, they said, well, we're going to put you on the spot, guys. Anyone from every organization, you have an opportunity to speak and share about what you're doing. Well, for those of you that know, yes, we don't have an official nonprofit. Yes, we're not directly, always just doing one thing like feeding the hungry, or always just doing something for the homeless or whatnot. We are doing a little bit of all the different events, all the different directions of who can speak and who can talk and so on and so forth. So what happens is other agencies talk about, well, I have a homeless shelter, I have a soup kitchen, I have a pantry. Another organization showed up and said they just started a pantry. No one knew that they were starting one. Another one was starting another pantry. And then there was another organization that was doing a soup kitchen out in the middle of our county. Now, to put this in perspective, guys, we have 20,000 people in Chillicothe and 60,000 people in our whole county.
Actually, it's about 70,000 people we have in the county and 22,000 in the city of Chillicothe. What you got to understand, Ross County alone is the third largest county in the entire state of Ohio.
Yeah.
So, and we were actually one of the Chillicothe, the city of Chillicothe was the very first capital of the of Ohio when Ohio was founded. So Ross County alone has a lot of historic value in American history, and we, like I said, we are one of the 3 largest counties in all of Ohio. So it kind of gives you an idea of just how wide the need can really be, especially with the recession going on, or some people think depression. So that, because I don't think Jeremy realized that, well, after he's only lived here 5 years, so I just wanted to give that little bit in there, if that was okay.
So what happens is I finally get up to speak, and I talk about how we needed the database. I talked about how the vision that I see of how to interconnect the different ministries together, because that's one of the things I did in the Coast Guard, and I'm gonna have to ask someone if I have permission to share a map that I own.
Map?
Yeah, the map on the wall, the big map that covers half the wall back there.
No.
Okay, well, here's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to buy probably about 5 pieces of construction paper. Don't you think?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, imagine a big map the size of your computer monitor. And let's say it's wherever you live. One of the things I did was target well, I can't really say that word either. Well, let me just put I almost said the wrong thing.
You're trying to give top secret stuff away.
So, well, let me put it this way. What happened is, in the way that it was expressed, and I'm going to say this in a way that's a non-top secret clearance thing. It's not going to get me slapped in the hand. Imagine you got a bunch of those cool little marshmallow bunnies, right?
Peeps.
On a world map. Peeps. Imagine that, hey, Randall, Stacy, imagine that you have red peeps and green peeps and orange peeps all across this map. Red is for guys, blue is for girls, and green is for, cars, and blue is for, all these different colors recognized, and you have like a chart over on the side that says this color means that. Well, I got them all positioned on a map. The map has little sections in it that I've highlighted with different colors or different lines or so on and so forth. And those lines are representing set things like an Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta situation. So, I can
Why do you keep looking behind you?
Because I'm trying to remember the other pieces of what I'm trying to do. What I'm looking at in the back is my final for my Operations Specialist A School U.S. Coast Guard training, where we had to do target acquisition. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Target acquisition and set and drift, where we were actually pulling out of a port, going out and doing an operation where we were doing high seas drug trafficking, and sex trafficking and illegal aliens and so on and so forth. So all different parts of the map of the water are sectioned out. That's what I'm trying to do with ministries. What I just did probably just went over your head. Like, what in the world is he talking about?
Well, if anybody comes over to our house, then you can explain it because it's hanging on the wall.
Imagine this. If you're a ministry and you have a soup kitchen, and you have a ministry down the street that has a pantry. Don't you think you two could work together? A pantry and a soup kitchen, you could do some stuff together. So, one of the things that you have to figure out is where does everyone in the piece of the puzzle go? So what you got to figure out is if you draw a map and you're putting people's names on, you're trying to figure stuff out, it can actually line up a lot better when you have logistically something in front of you, a set plan. That's pretty much what I'm thinking in my head, and thinking on paper of connecting different ministries. Because my vision is that Jesus Christ told us to be the hands and feet He called us to be, right? And I'm showing that too soon. He called us to be the hands and feet, right? So to do that, I'm seeing all Christians as a piece of a map or a piece of a puzzle. Miranda's mom loves puzzles. How many of you as kids play with puzzles? You know, you got this 1,000-piece puzzle and you throw it out the box and, ooh, here's the corner piece. I know where that goes. And here's the wall pieces. And you always got the wall pieces figured out, but trying to figure out the middle pieces was the hardest. That's what we're trying to do. There's some outer pieces going good, some great people doing stuff. We're reaching Chillicothe, okay, but what about the other, whatever the number is, the rest of the community? How do we reach them? How do we get beyond that? So that's this conversation that we're having. I'm assisting logistically in the background, so you're not going to see anything I'm doing. I'm just helping people, you know, figure things out and then moving to this next round. So they told me to stand up and speak, so I ended up standing up speaking at the Hunger Summit and told people, hey, this is what, you know, I feel passionate about. I have something going on inside of me that wants to make change, that wants to help other people, and I totally believe this is something that, wow, we can honestly move forward and make that bigger direction than what people realize.
What people got to realize about our county is it has a lot of rural area where it's just country. Because you're out in the country, you're out in the boonies, you're out in the hollers, and there's these tiny little half-mile towns with nothing there. So a lot of people are not able to easily access help, especially with the gas prices going higher. And people may not have a vehicle to get places. So that's a big thing. And in Frankfort, where we used to live, someone has started an actual food truck that's going around to some of the rural areas around Frankfort and here in our county and feeding people in need. And I truly believe, I really pray that this food truck gets to grow. I hope somebody else buys another food truck and they go out to the east end and the south end and the north end of the county, because like I said, our county was the first county founded here, and when the state of Ohio was founded, and it is also the third largest. So I truly, and with knowing that there is so much rural area out there, we really need a food truck / supply truck to reach the people.
I totally believe that. So I want to just go ahead and transition after saying I got to speak, and I got stopped before I went to sit down, and you know, the guy grabs me on the arm and says that I do have a vision for the
guy that was
community.
the host.
One of the hosts that was over it. But yeah, Meals on Wheels is something we talked about here. It's almost non-existent, and that's something that my grandmother and I benefited from. I mean, I even got food because supposedly back in East Texas and Angelina County, there was another program for people that were in school, and my grandma got food, but sometimes I got food too through another program because they realized, well, what about the kids? Because a lot of kids are living with grandma and grandpa and so on and so forth, so they were missing out. You got it to the elderly, but what about the kids? So I wanted to cover delivering hope, and you guys are going to just see a quick slideshow of events. This is
finish what Bud, the host of the
what I said a second ago is he just said that I had vision, and you know that everyone gave me a nice standing ovation.
What you told me is he pointed you. He says we need to be listening to this guy because he has the plan and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
that's the phone call I got. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I heard the exaggerated version.
That's pretty much it. He said I had the vision, that you know I had a plan, and he said sometimes when you have events like this, a little jewel will come out.
Yeah. Jeremy also met a lot of people who know me. For some reason, a lot of people know me. Well, some of the people he said, "Hey, I saw so and so," and they wanted you to know. They said hi, and I said, "Oh yeah, do you know this person?" Yeah, I know that person. I've lived here for almost 31 years. So, but yeah, it was sadly, I didn't get to go to that because I had to go to my nutritionist appointment. But when I got the phone, I'm trying to say how excited I was. He's telling me, wrap it up. But I want to just say I was very proud of him because he wasn't even prepared to speak. But what I understand, he did a really great job, and I'm proud of you, Jeremy.
Well, thank you very much. Going back to, because like I'm looking at our time, and we could go on and on this. This is these two images that we were looking at, the one before and this one, and they're going to be full screen. You're just going to hear me in the background. This is more of the delivering hope.
What we did today.
What we did today. The woman Jamie, who's over it, actually adopted a boy from Ethiopia. All these little things that you see here, these bracelets or whatever you want to make with them, are going back to Ethiopia. Yes, they've done some stuff in South Africa and other places. There's a lot of organizations. Now, this Hope Clinic, actually our doctor, and I'm going to sit here.
My doctor.
Well, Miranda's doctor, excuse me.
You go to the VA.
Yeah, I go to the VA, but anyway, I haven't been in the VA forever. But anyway, Miranda's doctor is also a missionary. He goes to India, and he does medical missions in India. Well, he found out about the Hope Clinic. What is the Hope Clinic? It's a free clinic right here. I know I'm messing up, Carly. I'm having a bad night. You can just hit me in the head with a drumstick next time I see you.
Oh, I got drumsticks. Never mind. She doesn't have to see you. I got a whole bunch right over there.
All right.
Don't worry about it, Carly. I got it taken care of.
She needs practice anyway.
So do I. All right, let's get back.
One of the things is with like Hope Clinic is they're a organization for medical care that is free if you don't have insurance. Now, one of the things about Hope Clinic that I like is like there are churches that are directly involved in this. So there's an actual ministry team. You're not required to say a prayer or get help or whatever, but if you want someone to pray, that happens. There's another team, which is the team that brings food and other sustenance for those that are volunteering their time, because everyone working here outside of the main nonprofit org is not getting paid. Most of the people here aren't getting paid. The nurses, the doctors, they're not getting. Nobody's getting paid. The organization is being funded to use the building, and the building's being paid, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we're trying to connect to the churches, because there's a lot of elderly people, there's a lot of sick people who need help.
Do you remember the story the lady told about one of the reasons why they started the Hope Clinic?
Go ahead and share.
Okay, when there was two women that got up and spoke about the Hope Clinic, and they said one of the main reasons why they started this was because people were having to choose between feeding their children and buying their medication. And the example they gave was there was a man who had very high blood pressure, and he had to choose between buying that blood pressure medication or feeding and taking care of his children. So what did he do? He did what any normal parent would do, and he did not get his medication, and he fed his children. Inevitably, what happened was this man ended up having where he didn't take his medication, it affected his kidneys, and now his kidneys are completely almost kaput. And I guess he was on unemployment or was out of a job, but now because where his kidneys are starting to fail because he couldn't pay for the medication because he lost his insurance. Oh, wait a minute, she said he had a job, but this is how many people are being affected today. They have these low-paying jobs where it's just enough where they can't get government assistance like Medicaid or food stamps, but yet they can't afford the high premiums and high cost of an insurance plan. So that's what this man was stuck in. And so now, because he had to make that choice not to buy his medication, his kidneys are not working well, and he can't really work anymore at all. So the lady speaking said this is one of the main reasons why we started, so that people don't have to choose. We are stepping in and bridging the gap where they're being denied access to good health care. We're trying to bridge that gap just basically by being a good Samaritan, to paraphrase it. So I listen a lot. Yes. Jeremy was having to talk to people at our booth and stuff, so I'm sitting there taking mental notes. So that's really what the Hope Clinic is about, and we'll move on.
Well, to answer the question that Carly just wrote, so I stopped typing. The MidOhio Food Bank has just recently started. This is up in Columbus, and they come down through the rest of the county and rest of the country here in Ohio, or rest of the county here in Ross County. What they're wanting to do is they have a portable truck that's going to two of the towns outside of Chillicothe to deliver food. So that's one of the bigger things that are happening. These are some of the photos you're going to see from the event of Delivering Hope rally. This is indirectly Ethiopia, specifically the capital. Now this photo, and without actually covering a whole lot of anything else, what it is, this is Delivering Hope, I do believe, or this is Ethiopia. I'm not sure. It's one of the two.
Well, they work over there too.
Yeah, that's Delivering Hope. I just noticed that. This is Love Inc. For those that are interested, they're there, and they're really connected to a lot of other ministries. Love Inc. is something that is amazing. And yes, Carly, it is amazing to see that Miranda's smiling, because it was less than a month ago Miranda was just put into remission for Crohn's because she was stuck in bed for days. We're talking days.
Almost 2 months I was stuck in bed.
This is called Pure Freedom. Pretty cool organization for women, and I loved their little
they
speech.
they didn't get to speak for some reason,
Yeah.
so we don't really know a lot about them.
Now this guy, this is Richie Reinhardt. He works at the men's homeless shelter connected to Ross County Community Action. But if you're looking at the table, this is Adina. Adina is a medical facility in our area, and what he's doing, he is now part of a volunteer effort for
sexually abused.
For sexual abused men and women.
Yeah.
There are only 4 in the southern Ohio, northern part of Kentucky that are volunteering for the whole Adina network. Yeah. So say that you are a sex victim of rape, incest, molestation, whatever. You can be 2 years old, you can be 85 years old. You want someone to talk to, there's only 4 people that they can call that can come into the hospital. They are allowed to go in to the medical bed. If you give them permission, they're even allowed to be in the room while they do the examination. Men or women, it does not matter.
And this, what did you say his name was again?
Richie.
Richie. When he got up to speak, he said, please, we are in dire need of volunteers. And it doesn't pay anything. It's a volunteer, and guess what? You're on call 24 hours a day. You could be called at 3 o'clock in the morning to go out to the hospital and talk to somebody, and that's really hard for people to do today. That is, you have to be completely selfless to sign up for this, and I really pray that Richie can find more people to sign up. We're definitely going to be promoting what he's doing, and for people to contact him and contact the hospital, because Jeremy and I both are victims of sexual trauma and sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. And if I would have just had somebody to talk to when I got away from my ex-husband after all the rapes, all the beatings, all the threats, it would have made such a difference in my life. But I didn't have anybody. So for the ones, we need to try to get people to help the ones that we can reach. And
one of the things that ACM just mentioned, where are the interns? Here's the thing, this program used to be funded, but then for some reason the funding got cut. When the funding got cut, all the paid employees left.
Who are you talking about?
For Richie's, the reason why he's volunteering is because everyone left because the program got cut off.
Yeah, because all their grant money and everything ran out.
Now you're going to notice there's going to be things for sale in some of these items. And it's because we were raising money for the different organizations. So, Miranda, you want to talk about some of the organizations? There was a Synergy Foster Care there. There was a women's shelter there.
Synergy Foster Care, I thought was really great. They said they're looking for people to be foster parents. They are desperately in need people in the Ross County area to be foster parents. There are so many children out there who are in need of a good home, temporary home in a foster care environment. And they are on Main Street in Chillicothe, Ohio, across from the Easter Seals building. For those who are around here that might be interested, I would love to be a foster parent, but of course with my health, that's not going to happen. I can't even hardly take care of myself. But hopefully, after this man spoke about the need for foster parents, I'm really hoping and praying people will step up and say, yes, I will take a child into my home.
Yep. So we're gonna get
who else? Love Inc. and Daughters of Ruth, which we interviewed. They have it. Daughters of Ruth. Nicole Wells was the director over that until recently, and a lady named Brandy now has taken over, and she seemed really great. She of course talked about everything that Nicole talked about. We have that interview with Daughters of Ruth archived on our YouTube channel and right here on live stream. So it's right down there. Just search for it, look for it. It's a wonderful interview. People say it's one of the absolutely best interviews we have ever done in the history of JMC Live. So with that in mind, and other people, and not even my family said that, so that's a plus. So check that out, because Daughters of Ruth, they are the first women and children's shelter to ever open up in the history of Chillicothe and Ross County. There has never been a women and children's shelter, like a family shelter, open up here, and it is so needed. And in 5 months, they have helped get 21 women together, 21 women and children out from being on the streets and into either halfway homes or permanent homes. And let me think, who else? There was a lot of people. Oh, there was a minister. I don't know what church he was from, but he did a really great job. He was the only preacher from the entire city that came and spoke, which I was kind of disappointed, because there's literally a church on every street corner in this city, and for only one minister to show up, it was kind of disappointing. I was really hoping to hear more, and also more about what the different churches are doing, but of course we didn't get that. But hopefully next year.
Now this image you're seeing is the Synergy. I mean, that's the guy sitting there that I was talking, for the foster care. Elizabeth's Hope is supposed to be there, but I don't know what happened to them. But yeah, Agent Frosty is completely correct. We do have over 150 churches in our 70 some odd.
That's just weird. Everybody's like, who the heck is Agent Frosty? It's like, we're talking to people in our chat room, for people on the podcast and the archive show.
So this image is Daughters of Ruth. This is the new director,
Brandy.
And this is just from the event. Like I said, it's an indoor.
It was pretty full.
It was full.
Oh, and look, there we were.
Yep. There we were in the back. Yeah, his name is...
There's me. The best I've looked in a long time, but I still don't look that good, in my opinion. We had, our table was full of stuff, and we didn't give half of it away. We had a really awesome slideshow and video that we would have played looping and rotate out, and it was really great. We worked really hard on the slideshow. The video, we have to give props to our website designer and graphics designer, Andrew, who lives in Canada. He did a great job on that video, and it really caught a lot of kids' eyes. Let's just put it that way. A lot of kids watched it.
And a lot of people were commenting on how cute Miranda is.
Oh, boy.
What do you think about that?
I think they're blind.
They're blind. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, there's a bunch
I'm
of
joking, I'm joking.
There.
I believe you.
This is like the people sitting in the chair. And yes, that guy's wearing a safety jacket, so that's why it's all lit up. It wasn't that, like, glowy. It's just reflective tape. So
he's a little glowworm.
There's some more Richie.
There's Richie speaking.
More. See, like
it was pretty full.
This is when it was full. It was full around 3 or 4 o'clock. It was like packed, and it got dark, so my images kept messing up. So I'm kind of fast forwarding through. It's weird how I got her photo to do that.
That's Jennifer. She was the one that pretty much was running everything. That poor woman. She's got to be exhausted. She was up literally almost 48 hours. There's Mike from Love Inc. He's a really great guy. Does a lot for the homeless and people in need here in the community, and he just absolutely has a heart to help people.
Like, one of the things he does, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Okay.
He has he helped create a homeless outreach. This is the guy that actually started and found all the homeless people in our area, like a lot of them. He's the director of Love Inc., and he takes the money that he gets, however he gets it, and he throws the money right back into this program. So other people are donating, so on and so forth. And yeah, I think your picture's gonna be in here at some point. There'll be a great picture in here in a minute.
There's some of the many kids that were running around.
Yes, the wonderful kids.
I'm not gonna say anything else.
more.
We had a kind of a traumatic event happen with some of these kids.
More of the other clinics and so on and so forth.
There's Brandy speaking.
There's Brandy speaking
from Daughters of Ruth. She had some really high boats.
And there's Loving.
There's Mike.
There's Mike again. Like I said, I got a couple of images. That's why I tried to take them in the back of the room, and they wouldn't work. So I had to take them front.
Oh,
Miranda, you have to talk about this woman.
This lady and her husband, the lady, she's in a wheelchair, and she's been in a wheelchair most of her life. Her husband there on the right, to the right, our right, her left. He is an Army National Guard Reserve soldier, and then you have their 3 children. These people were living in basically a home that they were renting from a slumlord. He was a slumlord. He wouldn't fix anything. The house was just basically run down, and they honestly didn't have a lot of money. They really didn't have the money to move out of this home. They were kind of stuck. How a lot of people have become. So what happened was, one night, after telling the landlord that they were having problems with mice and rats coming in the house, and they didn't understand how they were coming in. They were the landlord was blaming it on the dog food. He was blaming it on, it was all their fault. And so they were putting everything away. They were packing everything up, making sure, and still the rats and the mice were still coming in the house. Well, one night they went to bed, and the woman there in the wheelchair, she wakes up and she pulls the covers back, and her legs are literally covered in blood.
39 bites from a rat.
39 bites from a rat. She was rushed to the hospital, had to have stitches, had to have medical care, and while she was in the hospital, she called a friend from one of the churches around here. Long story short, some of the churches around here and some of the people in the community here in Chillicothe helped these people get out of that bad environment with that slumlord, got them into a safe environment, and inevitably they called Habitat for Humanity, who helps people get homes, nice homes. And inevitably this family has now moved into a very nice home that is safe, and they don't have to worry about being bitten by rats anymore and being harassed by slumlords. And it was because of people in the church and the community just having a heart and taking the initiative and stepping up and helping this family in need. And when I heard that her husband was an Army National Guard Reserve soldier, I said that's uncalled for, that one of our troops should have to live like that in this country today. But sadly they are. Because when you're a reserve, you're not really active unless they call you. So you have to find a job. And of course, around here, that's very limited. But luckily, this story has a happy ending. And it was just an absolute heart-wrenching story to hear, but also a heartwarming ending.
Do you want to tell what happened?
I told them what happened. How the Habitat for Humanity helped them, and they're in a new home now, and they're away from the slumlord and the rats, and they don't have to worry about that.
You want to talk about her?
Why don't you talk about her? Because she was pretty, her story was very intense.
Okay, this is Miss Toombs, and she's a victim of sex trafficking. Right here in our area, actually. And the new statistic, and I'm going to sit here and let you guys see me. The new statistic for the United States, not for
anywhere else,
another country, and this isn't just something that she mentioned. This is something we've talked about before. The age of 11 years old is the average age for a sex trafficking boy or girl.
Yeah.
The average age for a girl could be as young as 9 years of age, but the youngest they find them is only a few months born. Right here in the US of A. I personally have experienced sex trafficking from many various different directions. While I was in the Coast Guard, one of the things that I got connected to because I had a porn issue, is it bought into some other people that were involved in the sadomasochism style. That's something really big here in Ohio.
Very big.
Sadomasochism is where you cut yourself, you beat yourself, allow someone else to beat you, and they also have a barter and trade system known as a submissive, a dominant, or a slave lifestyle choice, where you figure out who you are in your life and what kind of paradigm fits, and you are a slave and you allow people to buy you and own you and do whatever they want. You know, they gratify you with negative words, chain you to the wall, rape you, you name it. I've heard it. I've seen it firsthand in California. I've seen it firsthand in Texas. I have ex-girlfriends and friends in Texas, California, and here in Ohio, friends, not ex-girlfriends, here in Ohio that is, that have been sex trafficked, boys and girls, been involved in S&M. It's big here in Ohio. It's big in Texas. It's big all over the country. But the deal is, it's hidden.
Yeah.
It's not out on the street where you go and see San Francisco walking downtown wwhere everyone's half naked with chaps, you know, with their butt hanging out. And they're hiding in apartment buildings. Yes, they're sometimes
even
they're going
hotels.
In hotels. You know, they're buying out hotel wings for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Have sex with kids.
There was a big article about that too when the Super Bowl happened, and recently Marty Girl, Beauty for Ashes, that I follow on Facebook, they're all about sex trafficking and ending that in porn and all that stuff. And they share a lot of those articles every day. There's just something every day. A man was arrested for sex trafficking every day in America. This is just constantly happening. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about just how easily these girls are being trapped into this. Literally they're sometimes being kidnapped. And, they could be chained. It's just like some of these horrific stories we've seen. You know, these kids being chained in cages and discovered, Yeah,
I heard about the song about Matt Redman. I know there's other organizations like Love 146 and a few others that are talking about this. And what happens is, and it's quite simply, like I said, when I was in the Coast Guard, I was single, so I had a lot of girls that would talk to me. And it was just as simple as talking on Yahoo Messenger back then and still now.
Well, what this lady,
is really big online and in person.
Well, what that lady said, it isn't necessarily Yahoo Messenger anymore. It's Craigslist.
Yeah.
It's places like that, and of course we know I won't ever go on Craigslist for anything, especially after those murders. That guy, specifically set up a sale to trap these men and murder them. So I don't know why people even want to be on Craigslist anymore, to tell you the truth. But what the lady said was, technology has outdone the laws in our country. There are not laws in place to stop men from using Craigslist to lure people into sex trafficking and to prosecute them. Of course, they're trying to make laws now. They're trying to play catch up, but they're a little too late. Because what did she say? Most of these girls, once they get, these children especially, once they get into the sex trafficking, they sometimes only live 4 years, and they normally die of overdose because they feel there is no other way out other than to commit suicide.
Speaking of Craigslist, that's how one of our former ex-porn stars... May I have
a drink of water, please?
Yeah, one of our former ex-porn stars, Jan, that's how she got her job. She applied to a job, for a modeling job on Craigslist. Now, I know...
And that's what that lady said a lot of times they're using to lure these girls in, is a modeling jobs.
And, Craigslist is not the big thing anymore because there are adult services. Most of it's blocked. So there are new sites that are being created. Mm-hmm. The other thing that happened, they're using Twitter. They're using MySpace. They're using Facebook. It's just interpersonal connections, So many people need to realize that this is an epidemic and you need to try and figure it out. Now, what can you do to help? There's two things. I believe we can reach those that are into pedophilia and bestiality and all this other stuff, because sadomasochism and all this, they're teaching it in some colleges. I have a professor who actually gave someone an assignment to write about how you can have love with an animal. And I talk to the person, and I talk to
your college.
At my college. If I go down to Athens, they're teaching about ecosexology, about making love to the earth and vegetables and all sorts of different foreign crazy religions and so on and so forth. This is stuff people are doing. I would show you the image right now, but it's too graphic.
Well, in this ecosexology, we talked about it.
We talked about this. It's a former porn star
we did a whole
who got
show
a PhD.
Yeah, we did a whole show.
This is my college. I mean, this is stuff people don't even know. I mean, when you go to private school and you go into a specialty, you don't know what's happening. It's just kind of weird. I mean, it's one thing that you want to go watch a nice romantic movie with your husband or wife or boyfriend and girlfriend, but now things are being talked about that are insane. I mean, in fact,
the reason they're talking about them is so that it desensitizes you to think that, oh, well, this is okay to do. The more you talk about and the more you expose someone to something, especially violence, they become desensitized to it.
I know.
So that is inevitably what many of these perverts, as I'm going to call them, I don't care, that's what they're doing, especially with media, music, all that stuff. And you know what? Can we talk about can we transition to the 3 little articles we want to talk about before we end our show tonight? So, before we go into the articles, that's not the article. The anti-Christian bigotry on ABC. So, the event was really good. Jeremy did an amazing job on his speech. We will post a link to that speech so you can hear it. It's just a little over 15 minutes long. The only criticism I could find was that he went a little over 15 minutes instead of going 10 minutes. He went a little over 5 minutes longer than he wanted to go. And I told him the only criticism I could give you is maybe you were a little too graphic in parts, but at the same time, sometimes you have to be graphic on some of the things that has happened and what people are going through because people just aren't getting it. And that's really all. I thought it was a great speech, and already people that are watching it are already saying that it was a great speech, and I truly believe that's what he did. Okay, so let's move on. Anti-Christian bigotry on ABC. ABC is coming up with a new show called Good Christian Bells. Well, that is not originally what it was called. It was originally called Good Christian Bleepses.
Yeah, the word
or
that
female dogs, as I will say. So you get the picture. Well, now they've called it. Now they're just taking it down to GCB. The GCB. Let me tell you something, people. I saw the preview for this. They have what they're calling Christian women in the preview. They are fighting. They are gossiping. They are just nitpicking. And on top of that, they showed a woman. They're insinuating this woman in the preview. They're insinuating this, quote, good Christian belle was having sex in the church. And we have talked about this. We knew this was coming, and we talked about this in past shows. And when I finally saw the preview for this, I just about, my grandma couldn't even believe it. And I said, Grandma, you see that GCB? I said, do you know what that it stands for? And I told her. She goes, no. I said, yep. And I said, look, they're insinuating she's having sex in the church with that man. She's like, oh my gosh. Now, you gotta understand, my grandmother was a pastor's wife. And so to see that, it just absolutely floored her that they're going to have this show on there. Does it really surprise me? No. But let me tell you something. If they were doing good Muslim bells or good Jewish bells, you know darn well it would have been treated like child porn. It would have been deleted. It would have been banned. Somebody would have been going to jail. Somebody would have probably been murdered, had their head chopped off, stoned or something. But you know what? For some reason, the Christians just don't do that. And why don't we? Because Jesus said, vengeance is mine. And you know, that's all we can, and the only thing we can do is pray for these people. And pray And also write ABC and tell them to take this show off. It is smut, it is garbage, and it is absolutely, if it was Jewish, it would be anti-Jewish. And it would be taken off. It wouldn't even had a chance. So we need to pray about this. I mean, this is why I'm saying, and we need to protest this. Just don't even go to ABC when you know this show is going to be on. Don't watch it, because the less people watch it, the quicker it'll go away. So, do we want to talk about? Oh, where is the article about? It's okay to pray in school.
I don't have that one, so let's go to this. Keep going, Miranda.
You talk. I talk. This, a friend of ours who I do believe is still in the chat. She shared this article on Jeremy's page. She's not. She left. Darn.
But I've had some people talk to me recently about their view on abortion, and you know, the borderline question is, you know, rape and incest. That's a borderline question. But then you go to Oxford University and someone says killing babies is no different than an abortion, meaning it doesn't matter what you do, how you do, where you're going to do. That's a little creepy to me, and this is posted in the Journal of Medical Ethics. Now, the word ethics is supposed to be a guideline and a system of what you believe everyone should be doing. You're supposed to be the guy that has all the degrees, the PhD. That means you put a mark in the world beyond an associate and a bachelor's degree and a master's. You're going to a PhD level, and they're trying to say, well, there's nothing different. But here's the weirdest thing, and I saw this in a video. If I took a gun and I shot my wife in the head and she was pregnant, I would be charged with murder of 2 people.
Exactly.
And then let's say she just got pregnant the day before.
It's still a double homicide, a double murder. But wait a minute. It's not the same if the mother chooses to kill the child. Why?
Now, if a mother commits suicide, now here's the weird thing. If a mother commits suicide and shoots herself in the head, she's committed suicide and the suicide of a child. But if you go and get an abortion, no matter what, it's just an abortion. There's no problem with it. So I'm kind of confused.
It is a double standard. It is hypocrisy.
I get it. I'm lost.
Hypocrisy.
But I do understand people, you know, if you've been raped, you've been molested, yeah, you don't want to have a kid. It's going to be this big mental screw up in your head. How do you deal with having a kid from your father, or you got raped by someone you don't even know who they are, and you're always going to be reminded of it? I understand the complexities of that. I understand that, you know, people want to have sex without consequences of getting pregnant. You know, they don't want to have to worry about getting pregnant. And a lot of people are honestly not able to have self-control to just wait.
That's what it comes down to, self-control. People feel entitled, say, well, I shouldn't have to have self-control. I want to let go of my inhibitions. I want to... They don't want to take responsibility for their own actions.
Yeah.
And there are consequences. It isn't like how some of these parents are raising their kids today, like, well, we can't have the children crying. I just can't let my child cry. That's just wrong. I can't allow them to get upset.
Or don't spank your kids anymore, which is another.
Well, there are times you shouldn't, because sometimes some children, it does more harm than good. I will agree with that, because I have seen that. However, today's society just seems to, where children are being entitled, like you're entitled to have a cell phone at the age of 12. I'm sorry, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 21.
Yeah, what cell
phone? And you know
phone?
what? I had to go get a job, and I had to buy my own. I had to buy my own computer. I had to buy my own vehicle. I wasn't entitled. I didn't have everything handed to me. And I sometimes think, if you don't work hard for it, you don't appreciate it. Same way with sex. We've given everybody an excuse to just not be responsible anymore. Oh, well, I have a condom. I don't have to be responsible. I have the pill. I don't have to be responsible. I can just do whatever I want. Oh, well, if I get an STD, well, there's a shot for that now, so I can have that cured.
See, one of the things I'm kind of curious is, and I understand those that want contraceptives. My wife is on one because she will hemorrhage and die if she's not on it. So don't get me all this. I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go
there.
So what I'm trying to say.
Let me explain this. I mean, I don't. If I didn't have to be on any type of birth control, I wouldn't be. I don't like it. I wasn't on it for years. But the problem is, ever since I was the age of 12, I would basically hemorrhage to the point, and my sister at the age of 24 or 25 was diagnosed with endometriosis. She cannot even have children. They are looking into adoption. But guess what? She has to be on a type of birth control too, because if she doesn't, she will hemorrhage. She will be so sick. She's in the hospital. So I understand reasons for that, but just because you want to have sex just to have sex and you just want to be promiscuous and just not have any responsibility for yourself, that's a problem.
Here's one of the things. when I went to Africa, yeah, endometriosis. Her sister has it and her mother has it. Her mother had a partial hysterectomy because
my mother didn't have endometriosis. What happened was, no, my mother hemorrhaged, for an entire month and turned anemic and had to have a blood transfusion and an emergency partial hysterectomy. So that's my family history. That's why so in some way contraception is good for things like that, but just for the fact that you just want to have sex and you don't want to take responsibility for making a baby, then I have an issue with that.
So what happens when it comes to this situation? Because I know a lot of people want to hear man's point, and I realize in the next few weeks there's going to be a big campaign against the hatred towards women, and I want to make it very clear. At what point do you say it's too young for a man and a woman to have sex? At what point do you tell a man and a woman and a child that if you have sex, someone could get pregnant? At what point do you tell a boy and a girl that you have sex, protected or not protected, you can have some kind of STD or some kind of something? The reason why I bring this up is when I went to South Africa, not junior high, but elementary school, I'm talking 8-year-olds, they had on the wall a naked man and a woman having sex. They had on the wall a vagina. They had on the wall a penis. And they were putting condoms on. In elementary school, because everyone was having so much sex, there was a lot of diseases, a lot of things going on. AIDS, so on and so forth, other diseases. I realized a condom can only protect certain kinds of STDs.
Even AIDS. A condom is not even going to protect you from AIDS.
So I realize when you look at America as a whole and you want to turn around and say you can have birth control, you can have condoms,
you can have
the morning after pill, you can have abortion. What about all these icky diseases that can happen because some people are naive enough to think if I'm on the birth control, if I use the condoms, I use the IEDs, I use the spermicide, I use the diaphragm, I have a morning after pill, I'm going to be all A-okay. Well, guess what? There's nothing in existence right now that is 100% that protects against all STDs. Yeah. And it's starting to sound like there's a new form of STD. It's being mutated of different types and so on and so forth.
And also,
and it's crazy.
do you see the media, especially MTV, VH1, etc., do you see them putting out there, well, this condom isn't going to completely keep you safe from everything. The molecule of the AIDS virus is so tiny it can actually squeeze through the condom. No, they're not. They're saying have safe sex. Wear a rubber.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. As a man, I've worn a rubber or a condom or whatever you call it. And, you know, I've been in several relationships. I've worn some. I haven't worn some. I've seen the IUDs, what's the other thing called? Spermicide and diaphragms. I've seen it and heard it all. But I know some people that have been on that and they still gotten pregnant. Some people, you know, have gotten things. And luckily, I wasn't one of them. But what happens is when you're single and you do get pregnant and you go through abortion, the other part that doesn't happen is the mental capacity of a woman, depending on how you are. I have a close family member that has had an abortion, and we will not mention who it is, and I know other people that have had abortions, and I won't mention who they are. Abortion, depending on the person, it can really mess with someone's mind, because it doesn't matter if you agree that that it's a life or not. You're having an item enter your body and taking things out, and you wake up the next day or that same day and there's an issue of blood going on, you're sore. A woman can feel that she had an abortion. I'll explain to you my ex-fiance. She was very sick. She was very sick, and they had, because she had a bunch of cysts on her ovaries, so they gave her a DNC. Well, a DNC is a forced abortion. I watched this poor girl for 10 days, watch her shed the uterine lining insanely amounts, and screaming in pain, bawling over. I'm holding her, she's sleeping in the bed.
But the reason
it was creepy. But the reason she had to do it was because it got rid of the cysts and cleaned out the uterine and all that, so on and so forth.
But she also had endometriosis.
And she also, I think, had endometriosis and other things. But I really beg you guys to sit here and think about the capacity, because I know there's a lot of laws that are looking to being passed. A lot of things are trying to be changed. I know in some countries the day after pill and other pills and so on and so forth are more free and so on and so forth. But what are we going to do when we have an influx of people wanting to have sex? Abortions are increasing more. There has to be the outreach to reach the men and women that have been affected by this, because, you know, it's just an excuse to be able to have more sex. And we have an issue in America with sex trafficking. 11-year-old kids. You know, and that's the thing. Yeah, we have DNA testing. Well, these guys are getting really smart when they're trying to figure out ways to touch people without getting caught and so on and so forth. It's creepy, the things that are happening out there. I really, 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 really wish that something could change. I really, really wish that things can move forward. You know, I look at verses like James 1:27. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure as faultless is this, is to look after the orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep yourself from being polluted by the world. And I realize no one's going to be perfect all the time. I'm not perfect all the time. But I realize God tells us to take care of each other. You know? Carly's in the chat. She helped me when I was in school. ACM, they helped me online on the phone. And then Agent Frosty and others that are in person. April Garris has talked to us on the phone, and so on and so forth. You know? Yeah, it's not an issue of abortion, but it's not an issue of sex, but I've had people talk to me when I was in those moments, because I was not right with God for a while. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Miranda's the woman who went over 7 years being abstinent. I wasn't that kind of guy. I went all the way through high school until I was about 18 and a half.
I had women say, "How are you?"
I went until I was about 18 and a half before I lost my, virginity, and I lost my virginity to a Wiccan, and I bet you Carly knows her name.
You know, when people, because women. People in the world will say, "When was the last time you had sex?" And I would say 7 years ago. And they're like, "How? Oh my gosh, how? I couldn't do that." And some of these women were single or had a boyfriend, or not even a real boyfriend. But you know what? Sex just was not important to me after the horrific experience I had. And until somebody could heal my scars, and honestly my scars still aren't completely healed from the trauma and the abuse. I really don't, sex is a gift. It isn't something to be abused. And, it's not always going to be there in a marriage. You're going to come to an age where you're not going to be able to do it. And if you base your relationship solely on sex and lust and that kind of stuff, I don't know how it's going to last, because the love can last. The relationship, if it's grounded in Christ and in purity, that's the only way it's going to last. Can we go on to this last article over here that you don't have up over there?
And don't know how I'm going to get it.
It's on your messages.
Okay.
Sent to
well,
you.
Just keep talking while I'm working.
The final article we're going to talk about tonight.
So we're not talking about this one?
It really got a lot of people going. What?
We're not talking about that one?
What?
This one?
No. We had one more article, but because we're over the hour, I'm only going to show this one because this is really going to get a lot of people going. Of course, as many of you know that are out there listening, there was a horrific school shooting here in Ohio. It happened about 4 hours from where we live. A young man walks into his school and starts shooting people. He killed 3 of his classmates. And the article we're going to talk about is written by Todd Starnes of Fox News. And his article is entitled, "Why is School Prayer Only Allowed During Tragedies?" And that is a very good question. Because if you notice, the ACLU is always fighting, oh, you can't pray in school. The atheists, all these different people are fighting, oh, you're not allowed to pray. But yet when people are dying, people are killing each other, people are being abused, bullied, etc., oh, it's okay to pray. And you know who they sound like? They sound like the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years with Moses.
And to give you a perspective,
because when things were going good and things were going great, what did they do? They didn't need God. They said, oh, and then when things started to go bad, oh, God, where's God at? And when God, and then when things got really bad, then they started crying out to God, say, oh God, we need you now. Oh, we need you. And then what happened? God would show up. And only when things are good, oh, we don't need God. We need to kick God out of the schools. We need to kick God out of everything. Oh, but when tragedy happens, oh, when a pop star overdoses, like Whitney Houston, oh, we need God. Why don't we need God sooner? And to get down to the end of the article, oh, this guy did such a great job on this. I applaud him. As he says, as police try to make sense of the senseless, the school superintendent called on people to pray. It was a wise decision. But perhaps lost in the chaos is the irony that in American public schools, people are not allowed to pray. Liberals have successfully banned God from the classroom, replacing him with the man-made God of secularism. Yet in times of great tragedy, school leaders inevitably seek guidance and solace from the same God they expelled. I've often wondered, if God is good enough for the bad times, shouldn't he be good? If he's I got my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth. I couldn't see what I was saying. If God is good enough for the bad times, shouldn't he be good enough for the good times? It's a lesson I sadly suspect our nation's educators will never learn. Shouldn't we have learned when the Columbine massacre happened? Shouldn't we have learned when Littleton, Colorado happened? Why do we keep pushing God out only when he's an inconvenience? It's just an inconvenience to have him there. Oh, but when people are overdosing, being bullied, killing themselves, killing each other, oh, that's only when we need him.
Why don't you read what this says once I get it ready for you? Because I'm going through all the images right now.
Yeah.
From the
on the school sign. The school's sign out front of the school. It actually says this. If you can believe it.
Keep our students in your thoughts and prayers. Now, I know there's an atheist group right now.
When was the last time you saw anything that said prayer on a school board outside of the school?
Well, I know if the atheist group out of Wisconsin has anything to do with this, they're going to get rid of this, and they're going to sit here and sue the school. That's exactly what they're going to try and do.
Well, we need to just hold.
That's why I got involved with Athens, Texas. I mean, I don't know if Carly knows this, but I got involved with Athens, Texas, where I was born, no doubt. And what we covered was how prayer was being attacked, and the nativity scene was being attacked, and a bunch of other things were happening. And we were trying to get the message to convey across of how we should have a right to worship. One of the countries I was taught about when I was in the Coast Guard was called Mauritius. And what happened in Mauritius, yeah, you probably didn't hear about what happened in Texas. There's a link in a video about that. What happened is all these different countries, this one country celebrated, and it's a small island, they celebrated every single last one of their religions. I'm going to say something very controversial right now, and some Christians won't like it.
That doesn't surprise me.
I believe as a Christian nation, it is our duty and responsibility to allow others that are non-Christians to have a right to worship as they choose. I also believe at the same time we have a right as Christians to protect our values, our traditions, and our beliefs. The part where this gets complicated is when you go to college, when you go to university, when you get involved in politics. I've been getting involved in some politics as well, along with my ministry, and one of the biggest issues is when you're faced with a situation with a bill in your hand and it says life or death, this person here can, fill in the blank, abortion, bullying, prayer, who has a right, who don't. Because when you sit here and you pass something and saying, I can do this, I can make a difference, I want to pray without this Christian to pray in school, then you have this other guy that wants to pray, and this other guy wants to pray. At what point do you say no? So then what happens is, and I'll be covering this, S.E. Cupp is an atheist. And she believes that the freedom of religion in America does not exist the way it used to be. And who is being targeted more than any other religion? Christianity. And this is coming from an atheist. Yes, I believe atheists and some agnostics are being attacked because we got Christians such as myself and others that will say, well, we don't agree with abortion, we don't agree with this, and so on and so forth. But I'm not standing around trying to completely stop everything. I do know we have ministry partners who stand in front of Planned Parenthood and other organizations with tape on their mouths, praying for these mothers, these women, and these unborn babies that God will make them make a decision to change. But it's not this forceful thing where an organization has to come in and say, you're this bad man, bad woman, I sue you, all your money, you go to jail, you go to jail. I don't think that's what Christ really wants us to have to do here, man. But it's getting to the point where the devil or the other side, whatever you want to call it, is attacking people to this point where people don't have a choice anymore. They don't have the ability to do the things that they used to be able to. And that's where America is at a teeter-totter right now. Like I kind of mentioned about my grandma on the show, she said, and I'll say it again, she'd be like 93, 94 right now, worked making missiles during World War II. She would tell you if she was still alive today that America is heading down the path that it was when she was a kid on the farm in Texas, in the Panhandle, in Chillicothe, Texas, not Ohio. But I have to ask you, what is the moment in your life where you want to make a difference? This is Women's, History Month. Women wanted a chance to vote. They stood together and did something. It was controversial at one point. Right now, being a Christian is controversial. It takes people like me, Miranda, and others.
Having an opinion other than what the majority is going with is controversial.
And I talk at my college, and I'm bold like this at my college, but I do more listening than talking. Miranda probably finds that very difficult. I'm told that I'm a funny guy on campus. I'm not serious like this because I'm trying to reach people and find out what they think.
Because you have to be serious all the time.
Because I got to be serious all the other time. And then people will point out to me, it's like, well, we need to spread the wealth, or we need to have this, and we need to have that. And
what wealth? There is no wealth.
All these men are attacking the vagina. I hear that at school. That's the big thing going on. Men are attacking the vagina rules or something.
There are women actually walking around the hall saying,
yes,
men are attacking my vagina.
Yes, they are. They're having a big rally coming up soon, saying that the vagina phobes is what we're being called. I'm a vaginaphobe, apparently. I didn't know that. I'm straight. When did this happen? I don't know.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm kind of curious, though. You guys can chime in the chat. Just keep talking, keep going. Yeah, if you Google that, Stacy, you will find out vaginaphobe. I'm not making this up. I can show it to you if you want to see, but It would just bring a whole new list of different things. As you know, I do investigation work on what non-Christians and what non-conservatives are doing. I'm going ahead and saying it. Whether you like it or not, Ohio, you are on the map, and I'm watching what you're doing.
They're spying on us.
Because they're spying on us. They're showing up at events and posting signs on events where we're talking about people that are not supporting or so whatever. But yeah, for those that were at an event of ours recently, you know what I'm talking about. I have to ask you guys, what exactly is this plan that you have for yourself? Because I'm kind of curious exactly what you think is happening. I mean, America did not become this way overnight. I mean, if you think we did, then I really don't understand the whole issue. It really catches me off guard, and I'm going to show you something on Facebook without the vaginaphobe part, and I'll get to that next, but I want you to see that I'm not making this up. Washington, D.C. unite against the war on women. Apparently,
I didn't know there was.
There's a war on women.
Oh boy. I don't feel threatened.
Oh yeah, our live stream doesn't let you type the word vagina. It's considered a cuss word.
That's funny.
But
that's funny. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh. It really exists. Vaginophobes. I said it backward. According to the chat. I wouldn't be able to type that in. You gonna click it?
Yeah, I'm finding the right one though. Because I don't want to open up the bad one, so we'll just keep talking. I want to know exactly what's happening. But yeah, this is one of them. It's going to say a bad word, but I don't care at this point. It's not that too bad of a word.
Hey, that word is in the Bible.
There it is. Vaginophobe Republicans have blanked off women. Tens of thousands of them. I'm not making this stuff up. There's more articles about this. I don't know. I do know.
Do you have a phobia against vaginas? So now there's homophobes, there's vaginophobes. Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, so
there's a
bunch of weird
minds.
stuff going on, but anyway, that's just a weird, crazy note that I wanted to talk about. It, you know, it's not related to some of the other things.
We're rambling a little bit here, but...
A little rambling, but it's not bad. So I have to ask you guys, as I was saying just a second ago, what... You know, the government can't change everything, and that's one of the issues right now we're faced with, is big government, small government, so on and so forth. At what point, if you're a Christian and you're listening to this show, and even if you aren't, at what point do you say, I'm going to stand up to help people? I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, vaginophobes, socialists, Nazis, whatever you're called, gay, straight, tranny. I've heard, seen it all. My eyes have been scarred from the things I've seen and heard.
Wow.
Because the government can't do this. It requires a life change.
You know we're never going to
But it requires ultimately a soul change. It means people like you and me have to want the desire to be the hands and feet Christ has called us to be. For you see, you read verses like Matthew 25 talking about a harvest. You know, there's some people that are here that are just ready to get involved in, and you talk to, and they get their lives saved, or they get their lives changed, or something happens. And then there's that other guy that you talk to and say, hey, here's this, you know, and they're like, leave me alone, go away. That's called planting the seed. It's not always fun. Go look at the ground. You have to till it up. You got to bust it open. I mean, I'd hate to be the ground. You're putting a piece of metal in me, and you're going to break me up, and then you're going to put poop all over me, and then you're going to put lime all over me, and then you're going to drown me with water and put a seed and tell me you're going to grow inside of me. I don't think so. I'd hate to be the ground right now.
Yeah.
Potatoes. I'd hate potatoes. They grow on the ground. You tell me you can put a seed in the ground and then something bigger is going to come out of it? You're insane.
Watermelons. That's even bigger.
But as you see, the harvest is big, but the workers are few. And that's what this whole show tonight was about. It's about what are you willing to stand up for tonight. Are you willing to stand up for allowing 11-year-old children to be molested? To have their not only sexual organs destroyed, but their mouths and their ears and their eyes and their hands and their other bodily function, property, and I'm trying to say something without saying it. Anything that requires a bodily function that has a hole.
This is a really racist show tonight. Wow.
I know someone right now that had to have surgery to protect their hoo-ha and their other hoo-ha. Everything became just one big hole because they were kidnapped for 3.5 days and molested and beaten while somebody was killed, and they made a snuff film and they sold it on the black market.
And that happened here in Ohio.
That happened here in Ohio. Not in the movies, here in Ohio. And she's currently working on a film with Kurt Cameron and something else. And we've been praying for her and praying for Kurt and in contact with him. And a lot of stuff's coming. It's not the film that's coming up now. It'll be another one that will be released in the future. It's a little snippet, hidden thing that you can find out later on. And we're getting more involved with that program too. I found, Miranda has seen, and I've seen kids that have been molested that have they have like these warts and these boils on their body because they haven't been properly washed, or they've had so much sexual activity, things have just been gyrated so much that friction occurred and the skin was distraught. I'm being graphic because if I'm not graphic enough for you, you're not going to care. Because I consider say 12-year-olds were molested. Oh, okay.
Well, that's how graphic that lady was that was speaking at the event today. She went there. She said, "I'm going to just say it." She goes, because you need to know what's going on.
You know, this part right here is going to make you swallow the kernel that's in the popcorn right now because it's pretty graphic. And I'm just saying it because I realized, well, what can you do? There's organizations like Love 146, the Salvation Army, Compassion International, World Vision, something even locally, just as close as your hospital. If you can volunteer, they have a program to where you can talk to sex trafficking people. Because what happens is
big brothers, big sisters.
You know, but that's one of the things that's happening. He's like, no, I'm not directly associating with Kirk. I just know he's making a film with one of my friends that was sex trafficked for 3.5 days. She's actually playing the prostitute role in the upcoming movie, and that's the other thing. People that are sexually abused have PTSD. My wife has it. I luckily have not been diagnosed with anything. I've gone through counseling, I'm not going to lie, for the sexual and physical and verbal trauma that I've gone through. I did that from the year of 2000 to 2002, straight every day. I'm not afraid to say that, because I knew I needed help, and so did others. Because you have to talk about your problems, and it's like my wife could say, and I could say, and others could say. You can't just say the things that have been done to you to just anyone. And like right now, some of the people that we're trying to minister to, some of the prostitutes and porn stars and so on and so forth, they don't want to change. So they think telling us the nasty, icky stuff they're doing is funny and shocking and whatever. You can't shock me anymore.
Stop looking at the chat.
You know, I believe that
we got 6 minutes. Let's get going.
You know, that's just the way it really goes at this point. And I realize, you know, there's a lot of people that got problems. You know, I don't support everything that Kurt does. I don't support everything that some of the other ministries that I've come in contact with that we talk about. You know, those that support us completely support us all the way, and we're able to talk things out. Mm-hmm. But we've gotten to this point where there's all this prosperity, and there's all this, I don't even know how to describe it, this world. I feel like because I've stopped watching TV and we don't have cable, we have the internet, I feel like my eyes have been opened. And this happened,
don't need it.
This happened when I was at Teen Mania 12 years ago when I was at the internship and we didn't have cable. It happened when I was in South Africa when I didn't have cable and I was able to read a paper. I'm in Africa. I can't read the newspaper in California.
Yeah, the only time Jeremy never gets to really watch TV. I go and watch TV one day every 2 weeks when I go to my grandmother's to do some laundry and to visit with her and my grandfather. And when I sit there and watch the TV, I just flip to the channel. I'm like, all I want to watch is Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
cartoons.
I mean, that's what we have a lot of, cartoons.
And then I watch things like the Home and Garden channel where people are buying houses or fixing up their houses, because I just love to watch that stuff. But other than that, I mean, it's pointless. I mean, I do check out MTV, and I will tell you something right now. I mean, we thought, I was watching about Christina Aguilera, and I was watching when she brought her video Dirty back in like 2000, 2001. And that video is practically mild what's going on today. It is literally S&M porn, soft porn, that is going on in these music videos now. It is absolutely atrocious. I mean, I sit there and I just flip through the channels, and of course every singer is auto-tuned. They're not even really singing, so.
They're not singing anymore, okay. But anyway, to get the last closing comments on this, you know, I do agree, and here's the thing that happened like 12 years ago with TV. This is when NYPD Blue started. I realized when you cut the cord on TV and radio and some other things for a few months, do it for 6 months, save the money, write down what you watched and how things were, and I guarantee 6 months to a year, something will be different. Well, 12 years ago, they added 4 new cuss words and people were getting naked on TV at 7, 8 o'clock. And I was like, okay,
yep.
This is crazy. I mean, I understand not everybody sits here and thinks the way I do about TV. I've had people think I was nuts and insane for not having TV. Well, look at our ministry. Think about it this way, guys. People ask me tonight and other nights, and I can finish this up in 3 minutes, how do you do so much with so little, and what direction are you going, and what are you trying to do? I said, well, I removed things in my life that weren't important. Cable TV was not important.
It is not, no. The
super fast internet was not important. The best top designer clothes were not important. And the best super deluxe, you know, 2-seater, a Firebird, blah, 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 blah car was not important.
And an iPhone is not important.
But I did get a phone, and I did get cable, and I did, at one point, I have internet now, I have a cell phone, I've upgraded my cell phone.
But your phone was free.
But the phone was free, so I'm doing things
and it's not even an iPhone
in my life, because I realize I have this passion for people. I'm saying it now because I've had confirmation from others. I didn't want to sit here and become tooting my own horn, but I got to, because people want to know what's in my head. So to close out, I got rid of stuff that was in my way of trying to do homework, because it's hard for me to get homework done. Miranda's very sick, and I'm running a full-time ministry all at the same time, online. You got to make priorities. For those of you who have kids, you stop watching some of your shows so you can watch Simba and The Little Mermaid 5 times in a row because your 4-year-old child wants to watch it and they're sick. It's called What's Important in Your Life.
Are you talking about me? Because I watched The Little Mermaid last night.
Yeah, I'm talking about you. This woman has made me sit and watch I don't know how many films over and over again when she was sick.
Especially Mary Poppins.
And I am a man, and I don't really agree with all of these shows because I don't really care about fluffy cartoon Disney stuff half the time. But I try and get out of my comfort zone and find something that's funny about it. And I'll admit, some of these shows are funny. There's scenes in it's funny. Do I want to sit down and watch, you know, all the Disney films all day and watch musicals all day? No, I don't. But I will take the time because I love my wife. So this goes back to, what does this have to do with you? Well, what's important in your life? How can you help someone today? That's what I'm asking you. How can you make a difference right in your own community? I know a lot of people want to donate and help us and so on and so forth. And when we have a need for someone else, I'll let you know and I'll tell you how to help somebody. If you feel that you want to do something for us, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm definitely not going to ask. Because it's not my place to ask you. It's my place to try and help you. You know, God has someone out there in my life that's supposed to help me. I haven't found him yet. Sorry, Miranda. But I'm talking like with school or with or job and so on and so forth. Things that a spouse doesn't necessarily do. You know?
I spit raspberries at you.
But that's fine. You know, I don't plan on getting paid for this ministry. It freaks people out. Well, I don't want to get paid for doing this. So, like, I'm doing everything someone that's getting paid that was to be doing. You know, when you go to college and you go to an internship, you don't get paid.
That's basically what we do.
That's pretty much what our ministry is a full-time internship.
Forever, practically.
Forever. You know? But there's good stuff like that. So, in closing, Miranda, you have any final words before I close out?
No, I think I've talked enough tonight.
Sum everything up?
Sum everything up. I mean, we've done a lot this week. Lots happened this week. We've covered a lot tonight. But inevitably... Okay, I'll finish. Inevitably, what are you going to do with what we shared with you tonight? What are you going to do with the information we shared? One person in the chat room said tonight that we were very knowledgeable and educated on the topics we were discussing. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We're just we're good at acting sometimes. But yeah, we do normally really investigate and throughout the week and look at the articles and topics we're talking about. Because if we're not educated and if we're not up to date on what's going on, you won't be. And we don't want to just do a half job. We want to do it the right way, and I hope we've done that tonight.
I guess for my closing little bit of the piece of the puzzle, the pie, is that I hope that this was an informative show about what's happening here in Ohio and what's happening in my life. And for those of you who haven't watched the speech, you can more than willing watch it. If you want a copy of the essay that I wrote, I can send you a copy of my essay. Miranda, you want to type about what that is, and I'll get the link posted while I'm thinking about it. We handed out an essay, my college essay, and I want to actually offer it to
Is that the dirty truth about homelessness?
Yes, that's the one. I want to offer that to you guys. For those that don't have it, it's the dirty truth about homelessness. My life living in the shelters. I lived in 2 shelters from 2000 to 2002. When I graduated high school, you know, just like most students, you fall off the map. You don't really know where anyone else goes, and I was, you know, that's just kind of how it went. So I'm going to offer that to those in the chat for free for download, and if you want it, you can have it too. You just got to message us. I want your essay. That's all we need to know. Just write us a message saying you want my essay, and I'll send it right directly to you guys. For those of you that are on the live show, you're about to get a link that I'm actually going to send you. There you go. You can click that, and there should be a download button. There's a share button. You can read that all your heart's content. It's actually a high school, not a high school level, but a college level essay. So it's going to be references to a book that I was required for assignment, and it was a story about the box man. The boxman was a homeless person that somebody was just kind of monitoring in a way. Well, I ended up combining this story with my own personal story. So there are 3 stories in this one 6-page article. Hopefully at some point I'll get it printed. And not only printed, but printed in publishing format. So I want to thank you guys for coming. If there's anything you want to know, if you want to know how you can get more involved with us, you want to know how you can get more involved in your community, you want to know how you want to get more involved in Ohio or anything, I will take any kind of questions, any kind of comments, any kind of criticism. I'm fine with it.
We had a lot of criticism tonight.
A lot of criticism tonight. A lot of good comments tonight. The Facebook is getting comments.
No, I'm talking about at the event. We had a lot of criticism.
At the events. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that have happened, and it's good. Good stuff that we heard tonight. So thank you guys. God bless. We'll stay in the chat to talk to you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.